Hello, my viewers and subscribers. Welcome to another episode of Jamaica Politics Uncovered. This is where you get all your political news, reviews, and updates. Today, we're going to be talking about the former Member of Parliament to your right, Peter Bunting of Central Manchester, and to your left, Robert Chin is a sitting Member of Parliament for South Manchester. Let us start with Peter Bunting. In 2020, Peter Bunting lost his seat over several terms to the Jamaica Labour Party. Peter Bunting challenged his leader in 2019 for the leadership of the People's National Party and lost. He subsequently lost his seat 1 year later. So, like most people who either take a back seat or recalibrate and try to go back to their constituency to win, he didn't do that. He was immediately promoted to the Senate and as leader of the opposition business. Appointed by his leader as senator and leader of the opposition's business, he also plays the role of speechwriter for his leader. The video you're looking at was the day after his leader spoke on the budget debate and was not able to finish because of a walkout. So he goes to the Senate and he tells the president of the Senate that he wants to finish the leader's speech. Of course he does. He wrote the speech and he thought that it was brilliant. Maybe he also wants the country to know that he's the man behind his leader, or he's the real leader. He also spends his time commissioning polls. He has an obsession with polls. He commissioned a poll to justify his challenge for his former leader, Dr. Peter Phillips. So he's been commissioning poll after poll after poll after poll. 99% of those polls show that the government is doing better than the opposition. And it makes folks wonder, is he doing the same poll tactic on Mark Golding as he did on Dr. Phillips to undermine him? I mean, think about it. If you're running these polls, Jamaicans have never seen so many polls in their life. And if you're running all these polls and they're not favorable to you, why do you keep doing it? Anyway, rather than go back to Central Manchester to try and win back his seat or win back the people, he sets his sight on South Manchester. He wants Mr. Robert Chin's seat. And one would wonder, well, why doesn't he go back to Central Manchester? The people there, they know him. He was there over several terms. Why doesn't he go back? Is it because the people there are familiar with him and he has no record of performance there? Is it because he's unsure whether he can get a seat back from the sitting Member of Parliament? Why is it that he will not and cannot go back to the constituency to win his seat? I mean, if time come, according to them, that is their little tagline. If time come for Andrew Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party to go, why is it that Peter Bunting cannot go back to his constituency? Let us see what he thought of himself as he was going into the 2020 general election.
The role of the MP has the representational component. It has the parliamentary, legislative and policy-making component. And it really has an educational component. You're, in a sense, a teacher, raising the consciousness of your constituents. I think I have been recognized by independent third parties as being one of the most accountable MPs. I have the highest ranking by the Jamaica Accountability Meetup Portal. And so I've been able to manage being General Secretary, Minister of National Security, MP in a battleground constituency, and yet I keep performing in all spheres of and all aspects of the role of Member of Parliament. That's why they call me the performance boss.
But under your watch, there was the Manchester Parish Council fraud system or trial that occurred.
No, under my watch, with my establishment of MOCA, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption task force, an agency. When I was Minister of National Security, the investigation started then.
Yes.
And justice followed its course, and we have seen the consequences. So in our administration, we can't guarantee that corrupt acts may not take place. But we let the chips fall where they may, and we empower agencies to do the investigations and bring successful prosecutions.
So with all of that performance, the performance boss, and the prosecution boss, and the mocha boss, and every boss, with all of that, Rhoda Moy Crawford was able to pull out over 1,000 voters to unseat Peter Bunting. Is it that he's the only one who is seeing all of this boss stuff about himself and nobody else sees it? I mean, not even the members of the People's National Party were convinced that he was such a great performer. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? So, South Manchester, what are they going to do with him? What do you do with a guy, a member of parliament, who was voted out from his former constituency and cannot go back there to win back his seat? What do you do with somebody like that? Can somebody please help us out here? What do we do with him? Okay, let us say that Mr. Robert Chin is not performing. Should the people of South Manchester draw for a man who was voted out because he was not performing to replace Mr. Robert Chin? That math is not mathing. And I don't know if the people of South Manchester would go from bad to worse if it is that Mr. Chin is not performing. In fact, it would be better to take a chance with somebody who's never been to Parliament. I don't think Bunting went to South Manchester because Mr. Chin is not performing. I think it's just the closest thing. I think he preyed on that constituency and preyed on Mr. Chin because maybe he feels like, Mr. Chin maybe is not as fiery as Rhoda Moy Crawford, or maybe he's more humble. I don't know. Maybe it's just the closest thing. Maybe it's a matter of convenience. It's right there, right next door. And he's sort of familiar with the landscape of Manchester and that area. It still leaves the question, why doesn't he go back to central Manchester to win back the over 1,000 people who voted against him? Why doesn't he go back to central Manchester to claim his seat, claim his constituency where he was for over 2 terms? Why? I mean, Rhoda Moy Crawford, she's a political novice. She just came on the scene. Peter Bunting is been in the politics for quite some time. It cannot be that he's afraid of a woman, who, just came on the scene. That doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't he go back? Should we challenge him to go back? But it's not just him. It's a trend. A classic case of birds of a feather flock together. Neither of them can go back to their constituents. They have to move to other constituents to try and plant their feet. Dayton Campbell, Ian Hales, Peter Bunting, and a few others, all of whom carried out this major assault on their leader and their party. Clearly, they're not good politicians. I don't think they've ever been focused on really serving the people. It's always been about power and toxic masculinity. We can draw a conclusion based on what we've seen them demonstrate in the politics since they've been here. They're not good leaders, they're not good representatives, and they have no record of performance. Because if they did, the people wouldn't vote them out. It's clear as day. So again, what is South Manchester going to do with Peter Bunting? Jamaica is not that huge. News travel fast. So I'm sure the people of South Manchester would have known what happened with Peter Bunting's political career. They have no use for him. None whatsoever. It just behoves us as to why he cannot go back to central Manchester, where the people there are more familiar with him for a longer time. And, maybe he could work his way back into the hearts and souls of the people. Why doesn't he go back? That is a question that the journalists in Jamaica should be asking Peter Bunting. You heard all the things he says. He calls himself the performance boss, the boss of crime, the boss of mocha, the boss of everything. So if he's such a boss, calling all journalists, if Bunting is such a boss, please ask him, why won't you go back to your constituency? It seems that his ego and his words are bigger than his actual work. Make sure you're keeping it locked here, guys, to Jamaica Politics Uncovered for all your political news, reviews, and updates. See you in the next video.